So this is a true story that's then got a little story in the middle of it. So I was telling stories at the Inner City Angels many years ago. Some of you might remember that, a long time ago. And I was up in the attic in the library, and the kids came up. It was around Halloween. And they walked in. They were from a Catholic school downtown, and they were about grade 5, so 10 years old. And they came in, they had a little bit of an attitude. And I was up there, they'd already had lunch, and they walked in with their snacks and their bubble. They still had bubble gum. One kid came in with a big pink bubble. He was blowing at me. I thought, I'm going to get you. So I decided to tell a story. And it was around Halloween, so I lit a candle. And I told them, I think this is the oldest ghost story that's ever been recorded in English anyway. And it goes like this. Probably know it already. If you ever been to camp, how many people used to go to camp? You ever go to camp? Okay, you ever been around the fire telling stories? So this is one of those old stories. And I told the story, turned off the lights, had a candle, and I said, there was once a man who wanted to get married. All the boys thought that was the scary part of the sermon. And I said, and he looked all around to find a bride, and he finally found a woman who was just perfect. She was lovely and nice and educated, everything perfect. Plus, she had a right arm that was made of solid gold. And he said to her, I love you. Can we get married? And she agreed, and they were married. And life went on, and they were doing really well for a while. Every day he'd bring her a special cup of tea, and she would drink it. And then one day she said, I don't feel well. I think I'm getting sick. Call the doctor. Call the doctor over. The doctor couldn't figure it out. Every day brought her the tea, and one day she said, if I die, I want you to promise to bury me with my golden arm. No, I promise, I promise. Here, have some more tea. 3 days later, she died. And he kept the promise, and she was buried with the golden arm, and sad funeral. He was all in black, and all the neighbors came round, and they said, oh, you must miss her. Yes, so much. I miss her very much. He missed her so much that he went back to visit her that night with a shovel. He dug up the grave. He opened the coffin with a crowbar. He reached in and he took the golden arm off the body, and he ran home, and he put it under his pillow to keep it safe. And that night, he had golden dreams. He dreamt he was the richest man in the world. And the second night, golden dreams. Every night, golden dreams, until one night he had a nightmare. He was back at the cemetery, looking down at the grave, and the coffin was open, and the coffin was empty. And he woke up. He was so scared. And he looked all around the room, and there at the end of his bed, there she was, standing there, what was left of her. And he pulled up the blankets. That's a funny thing when I don't know, you ever notice that when you're scared at night, you always pull up the blankets? Yeah, I was in an earthquake in Santa Barbara, California. Middle of the night, I looked out the window, all the telephone poles are rocking and shaking, and I pulled up my blankets. That's what I did. So he pulled up his blankets. He was scared, and he looked at her, and he said, What has become of your beautiful hair? And she said, all withered and wasted away. He said, what has become of your cheek so fair? And she said again, all withered and wasted away. And then he said, what has become of your lovely eyes? And she said again, this could be your practice for the sing-along later. All withered and wasted away. And then he said, and what has become of your ruby red lips? All withered and wasted away. And she began to lean towards him with her left arm, reaching out what was left of it, and she reaching toward, and he leaned back and he pulled the blankets up even higher. He was really scared, and she was leaning towards him. And then he said, and what has become of your golden arm? And as she reached over towards him, she said, you have it. Sorry. That's how you tell the story. That's why they're called jump stories. So that's the end of the story. You have it. And all the little 10-year-olds were just falling all over themselves. And the one kid who had come in blowing a big pink bubble, it burst. And I was so happy about that. But there was one little girl who did not jump. Even at the end, she just didn't jump. She was listening the whole time, holding something around her neck. And I saw this. And then I was saying goodbye to these kids, and they'd all lined up. And I said to this one kid, I said, "Did you like the story?" She said, "Yeah. But when you told that last one, I didn't jump." And I said to her, "Yeah, well, I noticed, but why? I mean, everyone jumps. It's a jump story. That's what is it, the oldest jump story in the whole wide world. But you didn't jump." She said, "Yeah, I didn't jump. Because, well, I knew it was going to be scary, so I held the Blessed Virgin Mary." And she said to me, you should get one." So I said, "Well, I'm not sure I should. I'm Jewish." She said, "Yeah, that's okay. Just get a Jewish one." Thank you to that little girl. And thank you for listening to the story.
Yashinsky.